saying how excited I am that I'm going to be able to head along and check out your show. And I was wondering, for all of our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about what they can expect to see if they head along to Dyslexic Cowboy?
Yeah, well, so Dyslexic Cowboy, they will see a one-man show that consists of stand-up comedy, music, and sketch comedy. It's about 45 to 50 minutes, and I think the thing that has taken everyone by surprise is that it's quite an insane operation tech-wise and audio-wise. It's quite a multimedia experience. Me coming from a film making background and a little bit of a music background, figuring out ways how to use those elements to try to create a pretty unique comedy experience. So yeah, because it's a one-man show, I'll use a lot of characters and sounds and projections to sort of build that world and build the world of those sketches and stuff. And sometimes it can get really crazy and absurd, and transitions between sketches can be quite insane.
So tell us a little bit about how long it's taken for this show to come together, because of course a lot of stand-ups will just stand up in front of a microphone and deliver their comedy, which has taken a few weeks to get together. But for you, you've got visuals and everything. So how long does it take to get together?
So this when I realised what type of show I wanted to make, I think I decided I was going to do the comedy festival a little bit before, around August, October last year, something like that. I think maybe around September. But once I figured out sort of, it was a slow writing process, but I reckon pretty much since the start of this year, the show has been written, and it's been putting all that stuff together in terms of all those sounds and all those visuals and all those other things, and learning how to use these softwares that I've never used before, that I've found out are just incredible, and they're sort of similar programs that a lot of tech-heavy acts that I've seen in the past. I don't know if any listeners out there would know Auntie Donna or would know Tom Walker, who comedic acts that do lots of very sound heavy and reliant comedy, and learning how to use those programs and sort of getting familiar with that was all its own process as well. But I think it's really paid off and has come together really nicely.
So what inspires you to write a skit? Is it the world around us? Is it pop culture? What inspires you?
Good question. I think often it'll be when just the same way I'd write a stand-up joke or a song as well. Often it'll be something that just comes to my head when I'm sort of free thinking, and just sort of looking at stuff that happens around me. But also sometimes I'll just hear someone say a random thing on the street or at work or something like that, and I'll just think, it's a funny sentence, and just sort of write it down and note it down. And over time, all these notes of things I've just sort of thought of or seen happen will just sort of get longer and longer, and then it's sort of picking ones that you're still finding very funny even a month later, and sort of ranking those and then building them out if you still like it, and eventually it sort of ends up as a sketch. But there are definitely, there's a sketch in the show that definitely is based on some form of reality, about a guy admitting that his lunches he's been bringing into work are all actually just HelloFresh meal kit left, and everyone being just shocked at his whole identity is a liar, and it just goes to the most extreme circumstances, and he ends up being fired and cancelled, and the whole workforce is shut down because of this lie getting out of control. And what was another one? And then another one is a real estate agent giving a eulogy, and that was all based off an actual real estate agent that I'd met a few times, and follow on social media, and would use sort of any opportunity to try be selling houses regardless of sort of the circumstances he was in. So I just thought it'd be very morbidly sort of just funny to have someone delivering a eulogy speech at a funeral to their good friend who's passed, and at the same time can't help but avoid sort of talking about their friends as if he was sort of selling his friend, as if he was describing him with like a bright white smile that would make any room feel larger. And I was a 6'12" by 39 inches wide white male, and just using those descriptive terms that you wouldn't use in a normal funeral setting, but given they're a real estate agent, they do.
Yeah. So you mentioned about being a filmmaker and a musician as well. When did you decide that you could bring all of this together with your comedy and form a show?
So it's a good question. I have been making purely video sketches for probably about 4 to 5 years now, and that's been done in a group sort of setting. And as it's also, that's always been very casual and nothing too serious. And I love all those guys that I've previously worked with. But I found it just got to the point where I wanted to do something live and more, saying that you really have a specific deadline to and an overall goal to achieve with it. So I think if I've answered your question correct, because I think I've gone away from what it was, but about over the course of 5 years I've made video sketches, and that sort of knowledge of how to make a sketch and write a sketch, all that's very much helped me decide what the show will sort of consist of in terms of its like style and stuff like that.
Definitely. And you mentioned before that people have been blown away with the visuals. What have some of the reactions been when people have come along and seen the show and seen those visuals?
Well, the reactions to the show have been great. If there are any listeners who are interested in going, I should say that there's only one night that isn't sold out yet. And I think that's all come from word of mouth, which has honestly been completely mind-blowing for me, because I had truly no idea who would be interested in coming to see this show. And I also marketed it in a pretty purposefully non-clear way, because I knew when people would come that it's a first ever comedy show. Anyone's expectations would naturally be, well, this could go one of two ways, and so I sort of purposely marketed in a way that didn't really show off there would be all this media and projection sort of element to it. That's only sort of been revealed recently now that it's actually out there. But the reactions have been pretty outstanding to that. There's a lot of cool stuff in there that I think I don't want to spoil for people, but there was some stuff I never thought I would be able to pull off and do, just sort of technically projection-wise, that has worked. And I think people have often said there's one part in the middle of the show that always gets them and has been sort of crowd favourite every time. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we hope that our listeners will be able to head along and fill up that one night that's not sold out yet. But congratulations on selling out all of the other nights. That's an amazing feat in itself.
Thank you, mate.
Not a problem at all. Well, mate, for our listeners out there, jump onto the Comedy Festival website and have a look at which night is still not completely sold out, and make sure that you book tickets straight away. The show...
That's April 20th, which is 2 weeks away.
Definitely, yeah. April the 20th at the Loop Bar from 7 until 8 for everybody out there. So make sure you jump online, book those tickets, and what would you like to say to anyone who's thinking about heading along on that night?
Oh, I mean, if you're coming along that night, just prepare to be, prepare to be shocked. We definitely like to just go fast and go crazy and just go from bit to bit, and there's not a lot of fluff around. I very much didn't want to allow any time for the audience to sort of start to feel uncomfortable or something. So you'll never have a dull moment throughout the show, and it honestly ends before you even know it, just because it goes through so many concepts and so many different styles so fast that it's quite an incredible experience. I love doing it, and I can't wait to show it.
Definitely. Definitely. So for everybody out there, make sure you book your tickets for April 20th from 7 to 8 at Loop Bar. Lachie, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I can't wait to see it on that night as well.
Awesome. Excited to show you.